She had been born in the sanctum labs of the Oran Ascendancy, her body designed from crystalline filaments and woven plasma strands. Her creators named her Elthera, a living jewel meant to serve as both weapon and ornament. The Oran saw themselves as beings of pure intellect and energy, far beyond crude matter, and they shaped her into an obedient marvel, a dancer of death in courts and a silent assassin in shadows. The chains they bound her with were not iron or steel but bands of coherent light, woven into her very essence. Each pulse through the chains reminded her who owned her, each flicker of pain a reminder that she was property, not person. She obeyed each command without question, her every motion graceful, her every thought sculpted toward perfect subservience. When they ordered her to execute dissidents, she did so in cold silence, her luminous chains shimmering as she moved like a phantom blade. The Ascendancy reveled in her beauty, her precision, her unfeeling compliance. Then came the day the human ship crashed on Oran Prime. The Oran considered humans primitive, unpredictable, barely worthy of observation. But this one, they dragged him to the central palace as a curiosity, his body scorched from re-entry, his breath ragged but defiant. They mocked him, weaving illusions around him, showing visions of Earth's cities burning, his people falling in droves. He answered with laughter, his voice hoarse yet unbroken. When Elthera entered the hall, he turned to look at her, truly look, not as a weapon or a decoration, but as someone. Their eyes met across the brilliant marble floor, his gaze a rough warmth against her cold, constructed soul. The High Arcanist ordered her to demonstrate her skill. Break his spirit, they said. Show him the futility of defiance. She stepped forward, her chains glowing brighter with each motion, the light cracking in the air like a whip. But the human David, he had named himself, did not cower. Is this what they've made of you? He asked, voice steady despite his wounds. A goddess in chains? The words struck her harder than any energy pulse. She hesitated, her foot faltering for the first time in her existence. The crowd laughed, thinking it a trick, a new flourish in their endless spectacle. But David's eyes held no mockery. Only sorrow and a furious tenderness that she could not understand. You don't have to do this, he said, taking a single step forward despite the guard's screams. You can break free. You are not their puppet. Her heart, that synthetic crystal pump buried deep inside, quivered. The chains flared, sensing rebellion, surging pain through every nerve. She screamed, a raw sound she had never made before, her hands clawing at the light wrapping her arms and neck. The audience watched in delight at what they thought was an artistic finale. But David surged forward. With no armor, no weapons, only hands torn and burned from his fall. He grabbed the strands of light binding her, and they sliced into his flesh, burning deep into muscle and bone. He did not let go. His roar echoed through the palace as he pulled, veins standing out in his neck, blood running in rivulets down his arms. She fell to her knees, her hands rising to cover her face as the pain peaked, and then the chains began to flicker. One by one, the luminous bands snapped, shattering into shards of molten light that scattered like dying stars across the marble. Silence fell thick and total. Elthera looked up through trembling fingers and saw David standing above her, his arms smoking, his breath ragged. His eyes shone not with triumph, but with gentle relief. He offered her a hand, his fingers trembling but open. She took it. The palace guards lunged forward, but Elthera rose beside him, her body unshackled for the first time. She turned toward the guards, and where once she would have moved at the Ascendancy's will, now she moved with her own. The guards fell in seconds, unable to match her raw speed and new fury. The High Arcanist shrieked, trying to flee behind a curtain of light illusions, but she saw through every lie, every cruel veil they had once praised as art. She struck them down, the final chain within her breaking as the Arcanist fell silent. Together, she and David escaped the palace, slipping into the labyrinthine tunnels beneath the capital. She carried him when his legs gave out, his wounds searing but his spirit unyielding. As they reached the surface plains, the first true dawn she had ever seen spilled across the horizon, turning her crystalline skin to radiant flame. In that dawn, she realized what freedom felt like, terror and exhilaration in equal measure. She turned to David, her voice halting and soft. Why did you do this?" He managed a smile, teeth pink with blood. "Because no one deserves to live in chains. Not even a living star like you." In that moment, she wept, her tears shining like liquid diamonds. She no longer moved at the command of an empire. She moved for herself. And as she cradled David's battered body, she vowed that she would fight to free every other soul like hers, that no more would be sculpted into beautiful prisons. She wore chains of light, until a human broke them with bare hands. And in breaking them, he gave her a new universe to dance in, not as a weapon, but as herself, finally whole.